Yeah. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Salutations to the occupant of four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom. To you Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. To you sisters, you Aquafium, listen and learn your husband, your spiritual leader, and with meekness and silence. Shalom. It's your brother Ram Yahweh with the lesson. And we're going into what? The so-called UFOs or UAPs, which are what? The vehicles in which ye may or may not be delivered. Right? So we're coming closer to that time and that hour, right?
Now American officials are stepping up efforts to probe UFO activity after admitting they simply cannot explain some sightings. The existence of UFOs has triggered fierce debate, with claims of cover-ups and secret projects.
We are at a turning point in human history.
Earlier this year, the Pentagon was forced to officially confirm UFO sightings after investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell obtained videos of unexplained activity.
Whoa, let's get close.
The recordings were government-filmed sightings of UFOs being studied by the US Department of Defense. Since 2004, officials have investigated 144 events, with investigators only able to explain one of them.
That one's pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
Now, in a major development, the United States Department of Defense will roll out a new task force to find and identify UFOs in restricted airspace.
And investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell joins us live from LA. Good morning to you. How significant is the establishment of this task force?
It is very significant. I mean, first of all, nice to be with you, Australia. This is a really important time in our human history. The UFO phenomenon it's a global phenomenon. There are reports of encounters in all 194 countries across 7 continents. This is not just a US issue. This is a global issue. And there's been an increase in frequency of these encounters. And as well, the encounters seem to be more brazen. So this is why there's a new task force or even a new department that is focused on looking at the UFO topic and where these incursions come from, who's operating these craft. That's the big question.
Wow. Jeremy, we've spoken to you a number of times. You've kept us up to date with this. You've really forced this breaking of the cone of silence of officials on UFOs. So you're saying they just can't hide it anymore, that there are so many sightings, so close, so brazen, we should be a bit worried?
Well, so this is what happened when I was able to obtain and release these government-filmed videos that were then authorized. They were then said, yes, these are real incursions by unknowns. We have then been forced to look at this and say, who made these craft? Why is it that they appear to fly with impunity in our restricted airspace? We don't know precisely what UFOs are. We have a lot of theories, a lot of ideas, but we'll never get to know if we don't look at them. So that is what we're seeing now. We're seeing an openness in government, a transparency about UFOs that is beyond anything that has ever been before. Now, I am a little bit concerned in that this new Department of Defense group is saying we're going to be studying restricted airspace. We're going to be studying UFOs. However, right now, sitting in U.S. Congress, there is an amendment that is for UFO legislation that would provide extreme transparency. And I'm worried that the DOD is trying to make us look in another direction. This is being voted on right now, and it would change the world.
Right, so you think this task force is a bit of a smokescreen?
Well, I am concerned that it's the same groups and organizations that have obfuscated the truth, that have lied to the American and global public all throughout the history in the past, we need a change of guard. We need the dinosaur age to go away, and for us to look at the UFO topic soberly and say, who is flying these advanced aerospace transmedium vehicles? Because that's what they are. These are craft of unknown origin that fly in ways that we can't even conceive of with human ingenuity and technology.
So have they ever been dangerous? Are there instances where they've shot at us or killed anything?
It's really interesting. The UFO subject has been shrouded in mystery. A lot of what has happened with UFOs has been classified. What the number one priority that our government is looking at, and as well as yours, is the idea of near misses, that there could be collisions. That has been the number one thing that they've been worried about. Now, as far as people getting hurt, most of it is benign. However, they are in our restricted airspace. They're looking at our nuclear weapons. There are times when they have turned off or on our nuclear weapons. And this is well documented by our own military. And we now have those reports.
No. Well, they tamper with nukes.
This is something that I hope will be revealed. This is something that is in the Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand amendment, is to look at this. The tampering with nuclear weapons by these unknown craft. This is something that goes back decades, and it's something that is now proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, and people are just learning about this, which is what this whole point is transparency. We should learn about UFOs. Okay. What's going on?
Well, let's hope the task force gets to the bottom of it, because it could be fascinating. Jeremy, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. Yes, Australia.
Yes to you too.
We have attempted shoot-downs of UAPs on a regular basis.
All right, True Secrets, this is just in. From The Sun, this just been reported. Jeremy Corbell, who's I think one of the most trusted sources when it comes down to UAPs and UFO videos, says the military has been firing up on UFOs.
What did you just say?
He said this just happened less than maybe a week ago.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
Welcome back to Why the Big Secret YouTube channel, where you're going to get consistent and daily updates on topics such as the abnormal, paranormal, secret, unexplained, and so much more. And you're going to get this news under 3 minutes. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss breaking news when I go live or when I upload. All right, so here's the news in less than 3 minutes. Jerry Corbell says the military has been firing up on UFOs. And you know what? I believe him, because I just started a documentary that's called Alien Endgame on the Discovery Plus channel, which is airing right now. And it was all about military encounters that they order people fire up on UFOs. So I believe this. But he's saying it's still happening today. Our film covered stories in the past that was declassified, and it was a cover-up. But now he's saying it is happening now. And the question is, why is it a big secret? Jeremy was being interviewed on The Unexplained with Howard Hughes. And one of the questions was about the military. And he came flat out and said, not only does he have evidence, but this is what he believes.
We have attempted shoot-downs of UAPs on a regular basis.
Is it a shocker? Well, it may be. But especially when we just had the UAP conference and they act like nothing has been happening. But here's a guy that says that not only he have evidence, but here's what else he says he's willing to do. Now, I guarantee you, they're not going to have this man up on Congress testifying, because they know he knows the dirt, he knows the truth. He's already been the one who broke some of the stories when he got back to those Navy footage. So why not have this man on the next hearing to prove what he knows about the military encounter? What makes this story so compelling is that not only does he say that this has been happening, but he said he's seen the logs, he's seen the proof that the military has fired up on UFOs. In fact, here's his own word.
Correct. And it happens on a weekly, if not daily basis. So you have to understand, we are protecting ground troops. So in certain areas of the world. So certain things that come in proximity to those ground troops, it is just mandated to fire back.
Do we, because time is limited, do they fire back? Have they ever fired back?
Now, what really takes the cake, and when he said this is happening weekly, and I'm talking weekly with 2 E's, not W-E-A-K, almost daily. And again, he has the proof to do it. So why is our military firing up on these UFOs? Now, he did go on to say that they haven't, engaged us back. Maybe they have some incredible restraints, or they just know that our weapons is ineffective and they can give a damn about what happens in that case. Once we go deeper into this, it really boggles the mind that we know that they have superior technology. Why the hell would we fire up on these UFOs? So if you see the facts of this and post your comments about this video and why our military is covering these things up. But in the meantime, I just want to remind you, hit the like button, share this video if all possible, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done.
Yeah, so this is Ezekiel 31:5. As birds flying, so will Yahweh of hosts, which host means armies, right? So we say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai because what? The Lord is sending forth his son with all dominion, right? Everything he gave all dominion to his son, Yahweh Shai, who's gonna bring forth that destruction. Who's going to what? Defend Jerusalem, right? And that's ultimately what's gonna happen, man. So that's why we say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And host means armies. And he's coming to defend Jerusalem, defending also him. He will deliver it, which is what you call Yahweh Shai, right? He deliverer, right? Yah meaning he, and Shai meaning deliverer, right? And passing over, he will preserve it, right? Talking about what? The 12 tribes of Israel, the elect, right? He's going to preserve the elect, man. The 144,000 men, and then the 1/3 of men, women, and children, man. Turn ye unto him from whom the children of Israel have deeply revolted, right? We're turning back to our power, man. We're turning back to our power source. But in that, those things that's flying, right? That bird that's flying as a bird is what they call what? UFOs, UAPs, right? And they're flying in a bird formation, right? And that's our Lord coming back, and he's going to be in ahead of it. You always see the birds basically almost like a triangle, and sometimes they fly in a row, but it's always that head, the lead, the alpha bird that's in the front, and that's what Yahweh Shai is. What? The alpha and what omega, right? He's the beginning, he's the end, he's the all, man. He's the in all be all. He's the Israelite of all Israelites, man. Right? And he's coming to fly in a bird-like formation in what they call UFOs, right? Or UAPs, which are the chariots of Israel, the salvation of Israel. The Ezekiel 38:8, and after many days, thus shall be visited, right? The Lord is coming to visit the world that he made, man. He's coming to visit all those that have what? Committed iniquity, right? All those that have did righteousness, right? The Lord said you will get your reward, right? Whether you did good or evil in this world. In the latter days, right? So in these last days, what? It's judgment day, man. It's the time of what they call Armageddon, and Armageddon is also Jacob's trouble, right? Which goes hand in hand. And thus shall come into the land that I brought back, right? Because we're going back to Yahweh, to the Lord that we revolted from, man. That we revolted from Yahweh, man. And we're going back to him, back from the sword, and the Lord's bringing us back from that, being able to just be killed, and our oppressors declare themselves not guilty, right? Or we're being killed in the ghettos, the barrio, and the reservations, or the slums of the world, right? Because what it says right here, the sword and is gathered out of many people, right? So talking about all these different nations, where the Lord dealing with Deuteronomy 28 and 64, we should be scattered amongst all nations, right? Against the mountains of Israel, right? Because what? Israel, we're a nation, but we're a company of nations, which the Lord told Jacob that I shall make you a nation and a company of nations. So the 12 patriarchs became a nation within themselves, right? And then it says, which have been always waste, right? Because we're in the ghettos, the barrios, the reservations, the slums of the world, right? Where you could spit on us, kick us down, afflict us, right? An affliction dealing with what? Being poor, right? We're the poor. And the Lord said his heart is after the poor, for the poor, which is dealing with his people, the Israelites. But it is brought forth out of the what? Nations, right? And they shall dwell safely, all of them, right? Matthew 24 verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect, right? So gathering those elect men, right? 144,000, and the 1/3 men, women, and children, right? From the four winds of the world from the four winds, from one end of the heaven, right, which is dealing with earth. Earth is considered a heaven, right, to the other, right? So from east to west, north, south, right? The four winds, right? Dealing with your the diaspora, right? The diaspora of the Israelites, man, right? Then learn a parable, Salakia, of the fig tree. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. And put forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh, right? So these things, what it said, the Lord said, what he's coming to visit you in what? In the latter days, man. So now that they see all these chariots, and like the guy said, what? It's not just an American thing. This thing is happening in 100 and something different countries, and it's happening in what? All over the world. So now that you're seeing these things, what? Those things are drawing nigh, like the summer would when you see the leaves. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is nigh, even at the door, man. The end of the world, or the time for what? For judgment is at the door, man. So this is Revelation chapter 6, verse 13. And the stars of heaven fall unto the earth, even as the fig tree casteth her fruit untimely figs, right? So I'm coming to more of the understanding when you speak of the chariots, you kind of gotta bring in the ICBM missiles because it's kind of go hand in hand with the chariots. So I'm gonna put a couple of scriptures about the ICBM missiles because that's ultimately what that is, a fig that's casting her untimely fruit, dealing with the ICBM missiles, the hypersonic missiles, man, the hypersonic ICBM missiles. When she is shaken of a mighty wind, that wind is what dealing with the ICBM missiles. And the heaven depart as a scroll when it is rolled, when it shall, when it is rolled together, right? Every mountain and island were moved out of their place, right? Dealing with the ICBM missiles hitting, and the cloud, that mushroom cloud, it's kind of like a scroll. If you roll out a scroll, or if you're rolling it back together, right? That's what it looks like. That's that mushroom cloud dealing with the ICBM missiles. Yeah, so this is Isaiah 34:4, and all the host of heaven, right? These militaries, right, around the world. But the Lord is finna go to where? The four corners of the earth to get his elect. Why this is, simultaneously happening, and shall be dissolved, right? Because these other militaries from their government or their country that they're so-called fighting for, they're ultimately against what? The Israelites. They'll fight against each other, but the main thing that they will stand up for, right? Ronald Reagan said that what if there was a being that came from outer space, would they not come together and fight? And that's ultimately what they're doing. They're coming together to fight, right, against our power, which will be in those chariots. So the Lord's going to have to what? Dissolve those hosts, that army, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. So like same thing, like I said, it's like having a scroll and you having those two sides of the scroll, and you take the two sides and you roll it out. And that's going to be that mushroom cloud. There's two sides to a scroll. I don't know if you know, like the ancient scroll. They actually had like a piece of wood on one side of the scroll and a piece of wood with handles on the other side, and you would take both sides and pull it apart, like you're doing that. What's that? Like the back in the day in the 80s, they used to have this little spring thing that you could pull, go back and forth, and pull across your chest. A little spring thing. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, it had the little springs, like a little resistance, and it's kind of like that. And you're pulling the scroll apart, and that's dealing with the ICBM missiles hitting the Earth, and that mushroom cloud is going up. And for all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as the falling fig, right? And if you see a fig is pretty much shaped like a nuclear missile. For as a fig from the fig tree, right? For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, right? Right, which is a Greek word of saying Edom. And upon all the people, all the other Edomites, and even these other different heathen nations, right? but the main part is what? The people of my curse, which are the Edomites, to judgment, right? So we're coming to that day of what? Judgment, man. Ezekiel 38:22, and I will plead against him with plagues, right? And the Lord is doing that now on a small scale, but ultimately the ICBM missiles are the Lord's plagues, right? And that's how the Lord's going to plead with all flesh, with all those have fought against Jerusalem, and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands, which dealing with hosts. Same thing of dealing with hosts. With host means armies, your military, right? And upon the many people that are with him, right? Your military, and overflowing rain and great hailstones, which going into the ICBM missiles, man. Fire and brimstone, which that's what the Lord is going to allow to happen to these different countries and ultimately 2/3 of his own people. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, right? So the Lord is going into what? The four winds of the earth to allow you to know that there is a God, there is a power, and that power is with his people, with Israel. And they shall know that I am Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. They're going to know. Yeah. So this is Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1. I turned and lift up my eyes and looked, and behold, which means to look, pay attention, feast your eyes upon, right? A flying roll, right? So it looked like there was a roll in the sky, and it looked like it was flying. Well, something was flying in the sky, but it reminded him of a roll, right? And he said unto me, what seest thus? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof are 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits, right? So it's about, what was that? Let's go ahead and look it up. Yeah, so this one says what? The cubic is generally taken as equal to 18 inches. Was based on the length of the arm from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, and was considered the equivalent of 6 palms or 2 spans. In some ancient cultures, it was as long as 21 inches, which is 531 millimeters, right? So if we take that, might as well take it to the ancient culture, because that's what we're dealing with, the ancient culture. So we're going to go with the ancient one. So it says, let's try 21 times 20. That's 420. Then it said 10. Clear it out and do 21 times 10. That's 220. 210 and 420. Right? Kyle's, whatever. But right here it says cubic, so it's at 420. 420 ends up being 630 feet, right? And take off the other one. What was it? 210 ends up being 315 feet. So it was 600 and about 600 feet long and about 300 feet wide. So it's relatively small. Because matter of fact, they even have the one where they call it the Tic Tac, right? Relatively small. It moved. They said it was even shaped like a Tic Tac, right? It says yeah. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubic. So 20 cubic will be 630 feet, roughly. And the breadth thereof, right, the width, like the wideness of thereof, 10 cubics, right? Cubic, that will be about 315 feet, right? So it's relatively small. It's not super, well, that's pretty big to a regular person, but it's small compared to, the fathership, to a flying mountain, right? What the Lord has, right? Then said he unto me, this, right? And this is a relatively small chariot, right? This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, and every one that stealeth shall be cut off on this side according to it, right? And the biggest thief is Esau Edom, man, right? And these other nations copy behind them, and then you 2/3 you copy behind them, right? You're the biggest thieves, right? Started with Esau Edom, It says and definitely Esau swears by what? By the Bible. He swears he's a Bible believing nation, so-called, falsely so-called, definitely. He swears by his military, his technology. He swears by white supremacy, and ultimately he's going to be destroyed. Shall be cut off as on that side according to it, man. You're not going to make it as far as after your 1,000 years of slavery. You're going to be Obadiah 1:18. You're not going to make it on the other side. That's it. Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 12 verse 7, right? And they know that they're in trouble ultimately, because that's the curse that go out through the whole earth, right? So they know they're in trouble. That's why they're firing upon those chariots, what they call unidentified, but they're very identified, which they know, right? They know exactly who it is, right? He says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, right? Dealing with the Roman Empire. And the dragon fought with his angels, right? Going into that war in heaven, right? The war of worlds, right? You got all these nations that they're gonna go by that decree of what they swore by with Ronald Reagan, right?
Something. On September 21st, 1987, U.S. President Ronald Reagan made mention of a potential alien force in a speech to the United Nations. Here's exactly what Reagan said.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? 2 centuries ago, in a hall much smaller than this one, in Philadelphia, Americans met to draft a constitution. In the course of their debates, one of them said that the new government, if it was to rise high, must be built on the broadest base, the will and consent of the people. And so it was, and so it has been. My message today is that the dreams of ordinary people reach to astonishing heights.
On September 21st, 1987, U.S. President Ronald Reagan made mention of a potential alien force in a speech to the
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
But President Reagan doesn't stop there. In a meeting with President Mikhail Gorbachev, he asked him if Russia will come in United States aid in case of an alien attack.
President Reagan suddenly said to me, what would you do if the United States were attacked by someone from outer space? Would you help us? I said, no doubt about it. He said, we too.
Shooting at a UAP/UFO. This video I found from Mavi 777. I can't verify that this is actually true, but this is what is labeled. A UFO hovering over a town in Romania all day, even into the night, as they continued to try to shoot this thing down. I'm not sure how successful they were. I don't think they affected it at all. Again, these are not my clips. I just share them with you. Shoot down UFO.
Yeah, so just like Ronald Reagan said, or he asked, would they help him? You know what I mean? And the answer is they said yes, they will help. And as you've seen, there are different places: Chile, Romania, Mexico, what is it? What was that? What was it? Iran, right? All these different places, they're shooting at the chariots of the Lord, right? But then it says what? And prevailed not, right? So ultimately, they didn't shoot anything down. All that BS hoax that they have, Area 51, and they have a this and that. That's all BS, man. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven, right? So they're gonna get taken out of their position of rulership, right? And the great dragon was cast out, and the old serpent, right, which goes back to the Garden of Eden, because the Lord said that when he deceived Eve, one of the curses was that they should be against the children forever, and that ultimately those children are the apple of the Most High's eye. Just like the Lord gave Esau the sword for his blessing, but ultimately the Lord came back and said, what? He who lived by the sword shall die by the sword, man. So ultimately, yeah, your thing was to war forever with the righteous children, but that war with the righteous children is your demise, man. And the great dragon was cast out. Yep. You mean Salakia. And yeah, and that old serpent called the devil, which means accuser, right? And a lot of brothers go into saying deceiver, but the actual meaning is accuser. But how he accuses us most of the time is by lies, right? You know how many so-called black men are locked up in prison on something that they never done? Those are lies. That's an accusing, right? For you to go to court and go like that means someone accused you of a crime. You're being accused of a crime. Whether you did it or you didn't do it, these are the facts matters of where they get you locked up at, whether you did it or you didn't do it. So he's definitely an accuser of the brethren, man. He definitely puts drugs in the neighborhood and then steps back and goes, oh, wait, I get to arrest him. And they win on both sides, because either you overdose and die, or you get into some conflict about money and you die, or they get that a great opportunity for them to lock you up and then make money off of you being in prison for a long time. So that they're the accuser, or which leads to them most of the time deceiving as they're accusing you. And Satan means adversary, so that's what your adversary would do. Your adversary will accuse you, and him being your enemy by any means necessary to destroy you and to deceive the world, right? And to deceive you. He's white, you're black, you're nothing, you're evil, you're void of light, void of understanding. Nothing good comes from the black community, so-called black community, right? Right? So you're just black, and you mean nothing, right? But to the contrary, what you are the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indians of Indian and Negro descent, and you Israelite foreigners around the world, right? Who phenotype may look like another nation, but your bloodline goes back to Israel, right? He was cast out of earth, right? In Obadiah 1 and 18, he's going to be cast out of the entire earth. And his angels were cast out with him, man. Through Yahushai bringing forth that fire from the chariot, right? That flying mountain, which is going to destroy the military in the valley of Yehoshaphat, right? So right? Let me go ahead and get that. Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael, right? The archangel Michael, which is not Yahweh Shai. He's under Yahweh Shai, who the world only calls Jesus Christ. He's under Yahweh Shai. Micah Allah, right? He is like God, or who is like God, right? Standeth up the great prince, right? Because I think that's where people get it confused, because it said prince, right? Which standeth for the children of thy people, and Daniel's people are what? Israelites, right? But he's not Yahweh Shai for certain, because and there shall be a time of trouble, right? Going into Jacob's trouble. That's what I said. This whole World War III, ICBM missiles, the chariots coming, the famine, the pestilence, the things that's occurring on this earth, all basically harmoniously is behind what a Jacob's trouble, man. Because what? We have to enter to the kingdom through much tribulation, right? Such as never was since there was a nation. So this day that's coming, it's never been before. So that's why you got things like that. That's why you got ICBM missiles. That's why you got drones. This day has never happened before. That's why you got the what is it called? The bio economy. The bio economy device, right? The charagma, the MO to the T to the B, right? A day like none other. It's never been like this before. So that's the day that's coming, man. Right? So it says has such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time that at that time thy people shall be delivered. See, brought back. We're going to be brought back from them ghettos, the barrios, the reservations, from the slums of the world, right? Every one that shall be found written in the book of life, right? Dealing with the elect, like I said, the 144,000 and the 1/3 of men, women, and children, right? Right. Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men. So all these men from all over the world, Chile, Mexico, right? Romania, right? Iran, Iraq, right? Russia, America, right? Out of number from the four winds of heaven, right? So all over the world, right? Prepare for World War III, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, right? And this sea is talking about the air, the Shemaims, right? Which is talking about Yahweh Shai. Came out of the Shemaims, right? Out of the sky, out of the second heaven, right? Or the third heaven, should I say. But I beheld, and lo, he had given himself a great mountain and flew upon it, right? So this is Yahweh Shai, right? On that great flying mountain, which would not be a flying mountain because there's no such thing as a flying mountain. We're talking about a chariot, what they would call UAPs or UFOs, and it's big. It's a father ship. It's huge, It's like a mountain, like a flying mountain, right? See, that's how they know that they needed to what? To come together against the enemy that comes from where? So-called outer space, right? It says, but I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was driven and could not, right? Because he came from outer space, right? From out of this world, right? For the war of worlds, right? So that Michael and his angels can fight against the dragon, right? And his angels, right? Because what? Michael is the second in command. He's that war angel, right? So he's going to be helping Yahushua lead in the battle, man. Right? So it says, and after this I beheld, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid. Right? They're going to be afraid, man. When you see a big flying, man, looks like a freaking mountain. It's going to be so huge, but it's going to be like gold and graceful, right? Beautiful. It's going to be gold and shiny with diamonds and glistening. And you're going to see, man, the angriest guy you've never seen anger like what you're going to see when Yahushua gets here, man. You've never experienced the anger that Yahushua has, man. Because he got it from his father, man. That righteous indignation, man. He's going to have such anger. So they're going to be afraid. They're going to be sore afraid. And yet there's fight. Because what? The Lord, created the end from the beginning for a reason, man. So that this end can be a very triumphant and a beautiful ending, right? Because what? That's when all this is going to happen. And like I said, I had to mention the nukes a little bit because this is going to happen. The nukes are going to get shot off. And the Lord is going to be destroying on one hand, right? The balance of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And then on the other hand, his salvation, right? Dealing with perfect balance, right? And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude, right? Shooting at him. That's what they were doing to the chariots. They were missing. Couldn't touch them. Right? But they're still doing it. That's violence. So he saw the violence of the multitude that came. He neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword, right? Because he's in a chariot, man. That even their own so-called scientists say it's 1,000 years more advanced than them, right? 1,000, right? Nor held sword, neither any instrument of war, right, man? He's an instrument of war himself, Yahushua, man. And that glorious body, man, he's an instrument of war by itself, man. If King David, being pretty much just a man, can bend iron because the Lord gave him power where he could bend iron with his forearm, how much more Yahushua in his spiritual body, in his angelic body, man. Whew, man, you're not dealing with it. He's an instrument of war himself. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, right, the bottom of that chariot, or out of the chariot, just like you see in Independence Day, right? Concentrated laser fire, man, laser beam fire out of his mouth, as it had been what? A blast of fire. And out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, man. That's them laser beams, man. Sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, right? Because America wants to be that melting pot. You're going to be mixed together, man. And what? And the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest fell with violence. So, I mean, they like violence. So now violence is coming to you. Upon the multitude which were prepared to fight. Right? Hey, don't get scared. You're prepared to fight. Now it's time to fight. That were prepared to fight and burn them up, everyone, so that upon a sudden subdone upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived. Right? Dang. Nothing was even recognizable. You can't perceive what it is or even what it was. But only what dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, right? Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 2. For the indignation, right, which is righteous anger of Yahweh, right, which is the Most High, all caps. But we always add Yahweh Shai because the Lord gave Yahweh Shai dominion. So we say Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies, right? That's why they're shooting at him, man. They know what's up, man. And he have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughterer, right? And Yahweh Shai is coming to slaughter them. And their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains, right, their governments, all these different governments, shall be melted, right? Because it just said that they were going to be what, melted together, or they're going to be mixed together, right? But they're going to be melted and mixed together with their blood, right? So all these governments, their armies, the military are going to be melted together, man. You're gonna really see a real melting pot. So call Loyim Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the 4 ones preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you Israelite, you women, you sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, your spiritual leader in meekness and in silence. A Shalom. Death to the wicked.